feel like niggas forget exactly how busy some of these artists truly are. Like, I know we clown Carti for not dropping in 5 years, which to be fair is kind of ridiculous, but like, this nigga at least makes 5 songs a day, which is why he has so much unreleased material, because it'll be songs we haven't heard, or if we have heard them, it'll be in low quality and in very short snippets or whatever. That's why it always interests me when we start seeing like rough drafts of albums that we now have, or previous versions of albums that we now have. Like, Carti has at least 4 versions of Whole Lotta Red, including the one that dropped. And you know, for I Am Music, it's about 6 or 7 versions. And while these past versions and leaks might be cool and all, and definitely show like where the artist was mentally during that point, rarely do we ever see completely leaked albums that just come out that get scrapped. For example, if we go to Carti's ex-boyfriend Lil Uzi, this nigga is infamous for this. The Real Uzi 2 never dropped. Forever Young never dropped. All White still has not dropped. But obviously the crown grail of all these albums is of course Barter 16. See, around Halloween of 2023, things were not looking good for YSL. It was pretty much looking like these niggas were going to be serving life in prison, especially Young Thug, who was a very close collaborator and a very close friend of Lil Uzi. So this nigga Uzi decided to parade around as Thug and basically pay homage to Thug way before everyone else started doing it. And I remember during this time, this era was hated because Uzi was pretending to be someone else rather than just being himself, which is a trait that people like about Uzi. However, for one, I just feel like that this was always more of a side project for Uzi rather than Uzi's main next thing. Like, it always felt like some shit he was just doing, you know, as a nice fun way to pay homage and just having fun. And number 2, we would literally get artists whose entire career is based off of paying homage to Thug, and y'all gas that up. So I guess it's just uncool when Uzi does it. I don't know, but this era was goated. And by looking at 2 versions of the track list for this album, this tape was gonna be hard. Jet is still one of my favorite Uzi leaks to come out in recent memory. Like, this was gonna be some hard shit. And while I am glad that shit like this does get leaked, just so we can see, like, for archival purposes, what artist was like trying to express during that time period and what their thought process and creative vision was during that time period. But I do think that's cool and all. I definitely feel like leaks can sometimes hurt the artist more than it does help it, and only really benefit the weird grimy subculture of people that just circulate other niggas' music for fun and thinking that they're hard. Never Apologize by Sofaygo was originally going to drop sometime in late 2023, still waiting. Now sadly I can't find the source anymore, but I remember hearing around the time that this album was supposed to drop that there were going to be features from the likes of Travis Scott, Uzi, Yeat, Don Toliver, and Tizo Touchdown. All these people Fago either teased with working with or would just eventually later on just work with the likes of Uzi, Travis, and Don Toliver being frequent collaborators of Sofaygo, while we only know that Tizo and Fago linked up for a studio session and that Yeat said that he'd be down to make a Fago collab song in 2021. Regardless, whether Fago or not had a choice or any consent in the mix, the album will forcibly be dropped on Kraken Files in early 2024, specifically around February. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, that is probably some of Fago's best work. That whole era, he was really stepping back into his sound after losing his footing with albums like Pink Hearts. This album was a huge return to form to Sofaygo, and had it had dropped would have definitely changed the public perception of him. But as we all know, it didn't drop, and we're still waiting for this nigga's second studio album. It's crazy because songs like See Me Shine, Rolling, Blessing, New York, the Pierre produced tracks I can't think of the name of right now, all of these songs are insane and like really well crafted. We just like never got them. But if we're talking about unreleased albums, there's obviously one person that everyone can agree has arguably the most unreleased albums ever, that being Kanye West. Good Ass Job. No, not Good Ass Job. Good Ass Job. This album was supposed to release around the time My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was going to release, as this was the original version of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. You see, Kanye West originally had a 4-part quadrilogy with his music. It was going to be College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, and then the 4th album is going to be called Good Ass Job. However, with the death of his mother Donda West, on top of his divorce with Alexis Pfeiffer, this nigga just went and made 808s and Heartbreak instead. An incredibly influential album, sure, but it definitely derailed the course of things. So after 808s, he was originally going to drop Good Ass Job, but a certain bottle of Hennessy stopped that, and the rest is history. While I do think this album would have been interesting to see, I don't think this would have been anywhere near the quality of what My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy would turn out to be. So Help Me God, aka Swish, aka Waves, was originally going to be released in 2015, and this album would eventually morph into what is now known as The Life of Pablo. The only songs to be officially released from this era is 4 or 5 Seconds, All Day, and Only One. More songs will leak from this era like Can You Be with Travis Scott, God Level, I Feel Like That, and even an early version of All Day with Kendrick Lamar. While I don't believe we have a definitive confirmed track list for these albums, unlike something like Never Apologize or Barter 16, I definitely do think that this era is one of Kanye's best, and it would go on to morph into one of Kanye's best albums. So I mean, all's well that ends well, right? Obviously, I couldn't go further in this section without talking about Yandhi, the holy grail of Kanye albums. This album was set to release in September 29, 2018. I'm still waiting. This album has songs like Sky City, Law of Attraction, We Got Love, Alien, and Hurricane, most of which were either repurposed for Jesus is King or Donda. For example, there was a version of Everything We Need, originally called The Storm, that had a verse from XXXTentacion of all people. And Hurricane was originally called 80 Degrees, and originally didn't have The Weeknd singing the chorus as we know now. And I get it, this is good music, but like, we would eventually hear damn near every song from this era. Like, even if it's not the original perceived version, a lot of these songs would end up being reused for stuff like Jesus is King and Donda. So it's not like we just haven't heard them. We just have to go through local files to listen to them because they were leaked. But some shit got lucky to be leaked. There's albums out there that are just completely lost media. Like, we'll never find these. They're just lost to time completely, or sitting on someone's old hard drive that we're just waiting to hear. We'll just probably never hear these. Yeezus is easily Kanye's best album in my opinion, and one of my favorite albums of all time. According to Rick Rubin, there is a 3-hour long version of Yeezus just somewhere floating on someone's computer probably, that we just have not heard. And what's of note of this version of the album is that the album is already known for its abrasive production and bold experimentation. But apparently that's like the toned down version. And this 3-hour long version of Yeezus is way more intense, which nigga. And veering off rap for a second, Skrillex is an artist who I'm pretty sure you guys may have heard of. I don't know if you guys ever listen to his music, you probably don't. But the reason why I bring him up is because around 2009, 2010-ish, aka the start of this nigga's peak, he had a whole bunch of more experimental stuff that he just never got to drop because the label was not fucking with it. And I don't think that he's legally allowed to drop those songs, nor do I think he personally wants to, as he's been hitching towards a rebrand for years. Another thing of note, 2011, his PC got hacked with all his hard drive with all his songs on it, some of which were unfinished. Now, it's unclear on what project this ended up affecting. Some say this is Voltage, which was an unreleased album that was basically dubstep too. He would later release some songs on this on his recent project with a name that's way too long for me to remember. While some say it was actually affecting the Morris Monsters and Sprites EP, which was the reason why it was so small. Regardless, I do eventually hope that we get to see all of those songs finally come out to fruition. And obviously I couldn't talk about lost albums without mentioning the lost album. That of course being Eros. This album was originally supposed to release in 2008, but with the bassist ended up being in a coma due to a car accident, they decided to hold off on making the album and were questioning if they were even still going to be a band before ultimately continuing with the band, but eventually just shelving the project. They would later record material for what would then be Diamond Eyes, but none of the projects from Eros would ever be released. And to be honest, I don't think it ever will. I think this album would just have to be leaked because none of the band members seem all that interested in making sure the album drops. And they would rather just drop new music, which they've been doing just fine. So I mean, that's their choice, I guess. But let me know if there's any albums I missed or any unreleased albums that you would want to come out. If God told me to leak one, I'm probably gonna choose Eros just for like the culture. But yeah, I mean, that's it for me. I don't really know how to end this shit. Stop sarcoidosis. I'm out.
Gang, let's go. Gang, yeah, let's go. So many cars, we creep. Been that corny, bitch ass nigga.